I know this is nap time for a lot of us. All I ask, I don't mind if you nod off, but I ask that you refrain from snoring. Open in the ribs. I want to thank two people today, and one is Alan Hayes, who's going to be my projectionist. He's running the pictures, and he's been a big help to me in everything I've done on this, and has been most willing and able and wanting to help me out any way I can. So Alan, I appreciate it very much. Would also like to thank Jesse Patton. Jesse has been a friend for many years and knows railroads. He's got a fantastic memory and knowledge of railroads, and I appreciate his help, and some of the photographs that you will see came from Jesse. In 1866, 22-year-old arrived at Brazos, Santiago. And while he was there, he met Nicklin Kennedy and Captain King, and they became friends of sorts. And King hired Locke to be a shipping agent there in Brazos, Santiago. I don't know how long Locke was in Brazos, Santiago, but he moved to Corpus Christi, and he opened a mercantile business and shipped wool to New Orleans. In 1871, he was selected to serve on the Corpus Christi Navigation Board of Directors, and he became very involved in the community and that, but he was interested in railroads. I don't know how he got into railroading, but he was interested in it. So previously there had been a railroad charter with the Corpus Christi and Rio Grande Railroad, and so they made him as president. Talking about trying to appoint somebody as a secretary here. When they did that, he missed a meeting, and he got named the president. So, the first thing he did, he quit the mercantile business, and he had to raise capital, and then he had to get a new charter because the old charter had expired. And he was set to work and raised $165,000 in a very short time. Much of the money, I'm sure, came from Captains King and Kennedy. One of the pictures, this next picture is the same picture that was shown earlier. That's the way they wanted to build it. Of course, it didn't turn out that way, as we will see. The next photograph is the only known existing photo of the Corpus Christi, San Diego, Rio Grande narrow gauge railroad engine. I point to, it's not, well, the rails are 30-pound rails. That's one reason he wanted to go with narrow gauge, was because it was lighter, it was cheaper, and we had gone through, the company had gone through the panic of 1873, and this was 1876. So he had to do it on the cheap. So the rail was 30-pound rail. Today it's 130 pounds. And 130, that means 130, a section 3 feet long weighs 130 pounds. So that's how they judge the rates. But I don't know if this is one of the first engines he bought, but notice this, the wood, mesquite wood is stacked here. You notice the mesquite wood stacked in the tender. And on one of the rail cars in the back is a tank of water. It's extra water because the tender didn't hold that much. And when you travel from Corpus Christi to Laredo in the 1800s, there's not a whole lot of water. It's always, yes. And so anyway, he paid $6,500 for that engine, and I think that engine, when the people could see it, they said, "Hey, we're going to have a railroad this time," because they had the charter in 1856, but nothing ever happened. It just languished. So when they saw the engine, that generated the interest. The first pipe that was nailed down, Locke nailed down in November of 1876, and it got stolen that night. What's interesting is that Locke nailed the golden spike, it was a gold-plated spike. He nailed it as the beginning of his railroad empire, whereas 6 years before, the golden spike was nailed down in Promontory, Utah, that indicated the completion of the transcontinental. So it was sort of interesting. The Corpus Christi, San Diego, as well as the Tex-Mex later, they fired its waters from 1876 until 1906. And after the railroad sold to the Palmer Group, they announced that in 1897, the railroad had burned 5,000 cords of mesquite wood in that 1 year. The cord of wood is 4 by 4 by 8 or 128 cubic feet of wood. So you take that times 5,000, that's a lot of wood, a lot of chop, no chainsaw. After 1906, they started burning coal, and coal came from a coal mine north of Laredo. And I had always heard all my life about the Old Mines Road north of Laredo, and I never got the connection what that was. I've never been on it, but that's what it was. The road went up to these mines. But they laid a railroad. It was a 28-mile rail called the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass Railroad. When the new engines were purchased in the 20s, Tex-Mex began to use fuel oil until they changed to diesel. By March of 1877, Watt had completed 10 miles of track. The railroad received 102,000 acres of state land for these 10 miles. If the railroad built a mile of track and it was completed and approved by the state, they got 16 sections of land. So it takes section of land is 640 acres. So you can see how much land was involved. The Corpus Christi, San Diego, as well as the Tex-Mex, by the time the railroad was fully constructed, they had been awarded over 800,000 acres of land. That's lots of land. What's interesting, and I read this in several places, they got the land, and their idea was to sell the land to help pay for the railroad. Well, the panic of 1873 had been pretty tough financially, so they had trouble selling it. The bids were earning about 15 cents an acre to buy the land. And it was scattered all about. It wasn't necessarily right along the railway. It was in different parts of the state. But that's a whole new story. The next photo, this is an invoice from Rockport to San Diego and Rio Grande. And it's from a Mr. T. Rogers. And it looks to me like he's shipping freight from Collins, Texas to Corpus. And Collins, just think of where Alice is. That's basically where Collins was. And he's shipping, and best I can tell, that's 2 beef skins, which cost him $1 to ship it to Corpus. The next one, this is 1879. And Mr. Lebanis is getting some from Corpus. They're shipping it to him at Collins. And I think it looks like stovepipe and pots and stuff, $1.20. But to think that something like that has survived, that type of paper has survived these many years. By January of '81, construction had been completed to Rio Leches, 86 miles from Corpus Christi, but still some 74 miles short of reaching Laredo. Lott went to the business community to Laredo to try to interest them into helping him and helping them other investors to get the track to Laredo. And they didn't respond. They didn't respond positively. 2 reasons. Jay Gould, who I guess the best could be said about it, he was a scoundrel. He was building the International Great Northern from San Antonio to Laredo. He was still a distance out, but they knew that he was coming. Also, the Palmer Group had begun building their narrow gauge from Laredo south to Mexico City. So they said, why should we help? We've got 2 railroads. So anyway, he got no help. And at the same time that was going on, I'm sure he had financial problems. Plus the tie factory that he was buying his railroad ties from, it burnt to the ground. So he had to dispatch somebody to another part of the country to find railroad ties that were going to cost more, that had to be shipped in by boat. So he had lots of problems. Then a hurricane had come through and he had graded a bunch of road bed. And you can imagine how it was graded in those days. But all the subsequent rains washed out the road bed. So he had that facing. So Lott and Mifflin Kennedy went to New York to discuss the possible sale of the Corpus Christi, San Diego, and Rio Grande irrigators. Discussed it with William Jackson Palmer. He had achieved the rank of Brigadier General in the Civil War. By the way, he was on the other side. He was the president of the Denver Rio Grande that would ultimately lay over 2,700 miles of narrow gauge rails in Colorado. Two portions of his railroad are still operating today as tourist railroads, those being the Durango and Silverton and the 64-mile Cumbres and Toltec Railroad from Chama, New Mexico to Antonito, Colorado. Palmer was also said to be the founder of Manitou Springs and Colorado Springs, and later constructed the General Palmer Hotel in Durango, Colorado in 1898. Three syndicates, including Palmer and Sullivan, the Gould Syndicate, and the third, the former President Ulysses S. Grant and Collis Huntington as investors, were in search of concessions from the Mexican government to build railroads across Mexico. Extensive mapping to find suitable rail routes across Mexico had been done in the 1870s. I read that Palmer had been working on this, even though he was president of Colorado, working on those railroads. He was very interested in Mexico and had been working on this for about 10 years. They finally were successful. The Palmer-Sullivan Syndicate was successful in getting the northern concession from the government of Mexico in October of 1880. They began to build the narrow gauge Mexican National Railway from Mexico City to Laredo. Purchasing the Lock narrow gauge railroad would be a good fit for Palmer-Sullivan, so they purchased it. Now, rail supplies could be brought into Laredo from the Gulf of Mexico and on into Mexico. On February the 17th, 1889, Palmer-Sullivan concession began operating the old Lock Railroad under the new name of the Texas-Mexican Railway. Palmer then lumped the Texas-Mexican Railway together with his concession to build the Mexican National Railway, but they were operated separately. The Palmer Group completed the Tex-Mex to Laredo in September of 1881. Following the purchase, stories abounded in the Texas press that the Tex-Mex was to build many rail extensions to as far away as Sabine Pass and Brazos River, or Sabine and Brazos Rivers, but no extensions were ever built by the Tex-Mex. Palmer, unfortunately, was unable to complete his national Mexican rail concession, and it was foreclosed on in 1887. The new company, the Mexican National Railroad, formerly a railway, now it's a railroad, now owned the Tex-Mex. The line from Mexico City to Laredo was completed in 1888, again as a narrow gauge railroad. Next we have is a timetable. This is probably one of the first Tex-Mex railways. I like that at the top. Chance of time. You can see the different state stops from Corpus Christi, Largely, then Banquetti, Carlin, Cindy, on down. And then there's a little spot called Payment, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Aguilar's, Costa Rica, and then eventually Laredo. And it took from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to make that run. And then consequently the mileage back from here at 8 to 6 in the morning and the mileage there at 3 in the afternoon. This is their concession. This is a copy of their schedule in Mexico, the Long Pasos division. Long Pasos is a small community west and southwest of Laredo. And these are all towns in Mexico. So here again, that's just an interesting piece of memorabilia where this train ran. Long Pasos was 72, you can see it's right here, 72 miles from the road. And that's as far as it went in 1882. In 1885 or 88, depending on what you read, the San Antonio Aransas Pass crossed the Tex-Mex near Collins. It they moved the line and bypassed Collins. And when you crossed the Tex-Mex, a new settlement was formed. And then originally, it was named Clayburg because it was on King Ranch land. But they changed it later to Alice in honor of the daughter of Richard King. So that brought a lot more business to the Tex-Mex because they could bring, let's say, cattle, for instance. There's large shipping pens in Evergreen. And they would load the cattle on the Tex-Mex and bring them to Alice, but they had to be offloaded into a set of pens and then loaded into San Antonio Aransas pass cars because the rails were different. They couldn't switch the whole car. And I imagine there was lots of rodeo going on from time to time because something jumped the fence or broke the gate or got out. So I'm sure that was really something to be in the middle of all that. The standard gauge track was 4 feet 8.5, and the narrow gauge was 3 feet. So that was the problem. These passes were about the size of a credit card. And they were given by the railroad to employees or business people of other railroads. I can't fully read that and tell you who it is, who it's to, maybe somebody further away can. But anyway, again, 1883 to think that it's surviving today. And those are, you can buy them on eBay. They're all different prices depending on rarity, quality, age, what very interesting comment. One thing I forgot to mention, in 1890, the Tex-Mex officially relocated to Laredo from Corpus Christi. A large shop was built to serve the Tex-Mex as well as the Mexican national engines. It was constantly repaired because the water between Corpus Christi and Laredo was hard water, full of minerals, and that was really tough on the engines to get the engine steamed up and not have problems and something stopped up and not working. So the steam engines were very labor intensive. This is a Mexican national pass from '97, and you can see Mr. Noble was Assistant General Superintendent with the International Great Northern. And on the back of it, it gives the mileage, Corpus Christi, that's in miles. And I'm not sure, but where it says Ramal to Matamoros Ramal, I'm not sure, but it could be that they had already completed some track in Mexico City, and that those were some first towns out in Mexico City. I don't know that. It's just a guess, but I couldn't find it when I was looking for them. So anyway, that's just an idea of what was on the back of the pass. This next pass, this is close to home. This is at Kankakee, about 7 miles north of me. This picture was taken supposedly around 1890. Track is still narrow gauge. You can tell how small it is. And it has the Kankakee sign here. And then I believe it says Mexican National Railroad Express, that other sign. But when it was on again. I think that's it. I love to know who those people were. In the early 1900s, the Tex-Mex and Mexican National began conversion from narrow gauge to standard gauge track. That task was completed on the Tex-Mex by July of 1902. The same year, 1902, the Mexican government had sold $80 million in bonds to rebuild this rail infrastructure in both Texas and Mexico. They were also converting a lot of the narrow gauge rails that Palmer today, they were transferring, converting those to converting them to standard gauge. And what they did, they put the Tex-Mex Railway, they put it up as collateral for these bonds. During the Mexican Revolution, all railroads were nationalized, including the Tex-Mex. In 1914, Mexico defaulted on the bonds, and the receiver, later a trustee, was named by Manufacturers Hanover Trust Company of New York to oversee the Tex-Mex until it came out of receivership in in 1982. This is a, can't see. Anyway, you can see here, Corpus Christi, this is San Antonio, St. Louis and Railroad. If you go north of that, you'll see a town called Calvin. That's named for Calvin Allen, which later became Cal Allen. And then if you look through that, you'll see Bluntzer, that's where I live. That our community where we grew up. And then you follow the Tex-Mex, and then you cross the San Antonio Ranges Pass at Alice, comes on down to Hebbronville, and then goes into Laredo. And this little section of rail here went out to the coal mines. That was the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass. And all these towns, this is Bruni, Tordesillas is Oilton, I think now. Hebbronville, I mentioned earlier about the station used to be Pena, and I read that Mr. Pena, I think, was a station agent. It was on his property, and somehow he and the Tex-Mex had a falling out, and they couldn't come to any resolution. So the Tex-Mex decided they were just going to close the station. And a rancher by the name of James Hebron said, "No, we need that station here. Put it on my place." So they picked the station up and moved it to his place, and that's where Hebbronville came from. So a little bit of history there about that. This is the 1888 depot built in Laredo in 1888. This photograph is 1925. I think that, am I correct, Jesse, in saying that depot is still there?
It was.
Okay. The next photograph, this is, in the 1920s, they started buying some new steam engines, and they converted them to fuel oil and not mesquite wood. And referred to as a 460 wheel arrangement. The drive wheels are 58 inches high. That kind of gives you an idea how tall they were. It was built in May 1921 by Baldwin and weighed 155,000 pounds. And the last one they had, not necessarily this one, but the steam locomotive Tex-Mex had retired in 1947. The next photograph, this is of Robstown where it crossed the Tex-Mex. This is the St. Louis, Brownsville, and Mexico depot. These are their tracks heading north. This is the Corpus Christi to the right. And this is the beginning of Robstown, but it was not a town yet. It was still part of the Driscoll Ranch, Rob Driscoll Ranch. The curve in the track is more of a distortion in the photograph than it was actually track that's actually curved, my thought anyway. If everybody's familiar with the Brendel Hotel, it's right across that street there. That was where the Brendel was built in 1914. We think that's about a 1905. We know that they built north in late 1904, early 1905. So it's in that time frame, but I can't give you an exact date. That's one thing I've really stressed to my wife, and when we take photographs of grandkids and stuff, put the date on it. You remember it for 3 weeks, and then you can't come up with the date. So I think it's very important to put dates on photographs. The next photograph is basically the same thing. This is the St. Louis Brownsville depot right here. This is the St. Louis Brownsville tracks, and that's the Tex-Mex going across the top. In the early 20s, from about early 20s till the late 50s, Robstown was a big vegetable shipping hub. And a lot of these are shipping sheds, vegetables. Wade and Newton, Gerhard Hardwick, James G. McCarrick, along with Bill Richardson, were probably one of the largest, not necessarily the largest, but one of the largest vegetable shippers in the state of Texas during that time frame. The Tex-Mex depot is right there up at the top. And some of these names, you remember there's Robstown Hardware, that is owned by King Ranch, so it's still around, not in that location. But a lot of that is still the same. You can still has the the curvature and some of the siding. This is the same photograph of 1957, and all it does is show the many shipping sheds that were along the tracks, there and over there as well. That's where all the carriage sheds were. What was interesting, we hope to have our marker put up late this year about the shipping sheds. What was interesting is that these sheds were built by the railroads, either the Tex-Mex or the Missouri Pacific. They weren't built by the shippers themselves. And the last one was torn down in Rockport in 1995. You were familiar with it. It used to be South Texas Feed and Seed Company. And those buildings were built for staff. They were well built. So anyway, that's just a 57 photograph. This is a courtesy of Jesse Patton. This is a troop train leaving Corpus Christi in 1943. Next photograph is, these are some of the diesel engines that they had. Picture was taken from a magazine cover in 1973. These were, I think, were called box cabs. I don't know too much about them. These are the diesel switchers. One thing good about them, they go the same speed either direction. It didn't matter. You'll notice how they butted up together. These are just some more engines. The top left had served the Tex-Mex for 23 years, and it was built in 1939. It's in line to be scrapped. And a lot of the engines, the later engines, looked like these F units. This was an F7. That was a very popular series for General Motors for many, many years. Even electromotive division of General Motors was building. There were some other builders, but these were the most common ones. We still see some of them today. This next photograph was taken by Philip Hastings. Philip Hastings was a well-known railroad author of many books, photographer, and I'll read it. It says, "The excellent and very rare photo of Tex-Mex 508 Javelin. It's an ex-Baltimore and Boston and Maine engine toward the last year of operation in August of 1948, evening in Laredo, Texas, switching for the northbound Missouri Pacific Train 21, the Sunshine Special." This one of only 2 known pictures of this engine. So it's a very rare photograph, so I wanted to share that with you. Okay, here's something that maybe not a lot of people know. I didn't know it, and I don't think a lot of people I've told didn't know either. And I got this article out of the book entitled "The President Travels by Train." And if you ever want to read up about presidents and how they travel by train, it's an excellent book. It starts with, I couldn't tell you who the very first president was, since I've slept since I read that. But FDR came by train and made this tour and got here on April 18th. And he came down to Monterrey, Mexico, where he met with the president of Mexico, Abel Camacho, I believe was his name. And Roosevelt did not get out of the car. They had to wait. Reading the story, they were approaching Monterrey, and had to wait until the president of Mexico got to his place before Roosevelt could come to the side. But they met in Roosevelt's car. I don't know, it doesn't go into what the discussion was. But he spent the night in Monterey in his rail car. And then the next day, he comes to Corpus Christi on the Tex-Mex, down the Tex-Mex. The Tex-Mex had a 19-mile section of track built in 1940, and that track was for the delivery of aviation fuel to the new Naval Air Station in Corpus Christi. And for years, you could drive down Holly and see the track. It was there for That well was there for many years.
You went to the Naval Air Station on that trip too?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yes, he went to the Naval Air Station. Next one. Okay, this is a picture from the book, and it shows Eleanor Roosevelt waving to the President of Mexico. This says it was taken at Flower Bluff Junction on April 21st of 43. And I have a friend of mine who his parents were in the newspaper business. When I told him about it, he said, no, they never came through Rockstown. He was over here. I said, yes, he was. And he went back and researched the archives. And such were the reporters and stuff like that, they could keep a secret. I'm sure they were told to keep your mouth shut. This is low key. We don't want any press. We don't want anybody. This is wartime, and we don't want it known. And so there was nothing in the press about this. And it came as a surprise to me when I saw that he had been in Corpus Christi. Roosevelt was in his Ferdinand Magellan, which is the same car that Harry Truman used in 1948. And Truman, Dewey beats Truman, you've seen that photograph. That rail car today is at the Gold Coast Railroad Museum in Miami, Florida. You can't go on it, but it's undercover, and you can see it. It weighed 142 tons. It was rubber plated, bulletproof glass. It was fairly hard. I remember the story that Harry Truman used to ride in it a lot, because that was a traveling day. And I kept telling him to slow this thing down because he was at the back end of the train. He was at the last car. He said, if for some reason we have a wreck, he said, this car was going to just be like dominoes, everything in front of him. Well, you can imagine 142 tons because these were about 70 is all the weight, but 142 tons weight. So that was 43 trip. Okay, next one. This is the number 855, painted in the colors of the Port of Corpus Christi. The Tex-Mex, and the Southern Pacific, and the Pacific, they took turns switching cars for the port. The port has their own switchers now. But this engine was built in 1963, repainted in 95. It's a GP18, GP standing for general purpose. It's an 1,800 horsepower engine, and it would lash you almost together to pull along the train. One thing, I don't know if you can see it, but right here is the letter F, and it almost sounds like a negative, but that stands for front. Trust me. Well, you stop and think, it'll go either direction. But different railroads designate which end is the front. A lot of railroads, particularly in highly congested areas where there are a lot of crossings, they'll run with the long hood forward because it offers more protection to the members of the crew in case of an accident hitting a car or something like that. They're going to get doused with gasoline or something like that. So each railroad has their own designation for which is the front of the locomotive. So like I said, it sounds like a joke, but that's kind of what it is. This next picture, in 1986, the Tex-Mex got back in the passenger business. I don't know if anybody here ever ride it. Well, it was a lot of fun, particularly if you paid $250 extra, I think it was, and got the bar car. Service was great. You know, the scenery didn't change that much from here to the place.
You did in the bar.
Gotcha. But it was a fun thing to ride. I was on the inaugural run. They borrowed cars from rented cars from everywhere, and there was about 12 or 15 cars on that train as opposed to the normal 5. And it began in January 31 of '86, and the last day it ran was Sunday, June 18th, 1989. I have to tell you a story. My wife and I made the trip, and there was a pretty good crowd on the train. It was probably July, had to be July or August. It was terribly hot. We got back, we rode down and just had to buy it and got back on the train and came home. That's all we did. They said, we're hoping we can make it back before we run out of ice. So the heat here in Laredo is just abominable. And we've gone to every convenience store in town to buy ice. And this store had 2 bags, that store had 2 bags. So they got as much ice as they could. And we didn't get too far out of town. And I heard some of the waitresses talking, and they said, we can't make it, we'll be out of ice. So they announced that not serving any more margaritas, we were out of ice. Oh, pandemonium. we're talking something serious here. So I knew I had ridden it enough times that I kind of got in I could talk to the conductors a little bit as far as, they consider me as kind of a regular. So I said, hey, if y'all stop for ice, I'll be glad to go with you to get the ice. Yeah, come on, we're going to stop in Benavides. So we stopped the train. If you've been in Benavides, the whale is right down the middle of town. There's lots of room on both sides. So we stopped the train. 2 conductors with me behind me. We walk across the street to a mom and pop grocery store and got ice. So they start loading me down with sacks of ice, and the next conductor loads his shoulders down with ice. And then the last guy signs a ticket for the Tex-Mex, and we all get back on the car and train takes off. And I said, don't worry us for Texas. Can you see the Pennsylvania? And then stop on the tracks to go get ice from the morning. Anyway, you notice the program track pretty good. Notice the part of the program at the top. This was the station that the city of Corpus built when this run when the train was restarted in '86. And when it went out of business in '89, after a while they moved it, and it's now the Buccaneer Commission offices. And you can see the high bridge in back, and it's at the corner of Chaparral and Hirsch. If you go that way a little more, you come to Ortiz Center, so that's where that one is. But that is the people that they built for the city. But the city built for the road. Okay, where are we today? This is the Kansas City Southern. They operate 135 of these locomotives in the system. They're 12-cylinder, 4,400 horsepower. They weigh 432,000 pounds. And the diesel tank, you can see they've been filled up with a tank on each side of the engine. And together, those 2 tanks hold 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel. So they kind of wreck your credit card if you stop and stripes and bought 5,000 gallons of diesel. But anyway, here's what I found. Very similar to what yours are. In the early 1990s, with the possibility of an after agreement passing, the Kansas City Southern looked to expand its operation in order to remain a viable, standalone railroad. Further, other railroads were discussing merging, such as Union Pacific and Southern Pacific, and Burlington Northern and Santa Fe. Kansas City entered into negotiations to buy the Tex-Mex and was successful in making the deal to buy it. In 1995, Kansas City Southern purchased a 49% interest of NextRail, and NextRail was a subsidiary of Transportación Marítima Mexicana, or TMM, which owned the Tex-Mex stock. In 1996, the Surface Transportation Board, sometimes known as the SURF Board, provided trackage rights to the Tex-Mex across tracks owned by the SP and UP from Lordstown to gain access to Kansas City rails at Beaumont. In early 2005, Kansas City Southern acquired the remaining 51% of Tex-Mex stock held by Mexico. Kansas City Southern also operates in Mexico as the Kansas City Southern de Mexico to bring goods by rail from the port of Lázaro Cárdenas on the Pacific coast to Laredo, where there the train switches to Kansas City. The train then comes from the way up to Robstown, down to Long, Beaumont. Down basically the same route, the Corpus Christi, San Diego, there again, then, that was undertaken by a lot, 142 years ago. Thus, the Tex-Mex as a separate operating entity no longer exists, but remains in members of South Texas and the districts. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
This is for any railroad person, I don't care. In the old days when they were steam engines, how far could they go on a tank of water? How often did they have to stop?
I think it depends on the load, whether they're empties or full cars, how many cars, whether they're going against the wind, with the wind, any grade, because the biggest enemy to an engine is grade. So you want I don't know. I read one time what the big boys use, which was the biggest steam locomotive in the world. And it's like 200 gallons of water combined or something. It's off the charts as far as just how much water. And by the way, the Union Pacific is rebuilding 2014, which is the only big boy that was worthy of. We've had the reversion. They're taking all the parts, started all over. They're supposed to have it ready to run May the 10th this year, which will be the 150th anniversary of the building of the building spot. And they have to find a place to run it because it's so good. They're just using it in the I'm sure you'll see it on the news. I've never seen one up close. I've just seen video of it. It's very impressive. Very impressive.
I'm just curious, who is Rockstown named for?
For Robert Driscoll, he was the one that gave a lot of the land to the Brownsville and Mexico Railroad and also to the Tex-Mex. That's who his name is, Robert Driscoll.